Hi, I'm Lanisha Robinson, your host for Career and Technical Education, hashtag Build a Future. Working in St. Lucie Public Schools with Career and Technical Education, CTE, I want to highlight what our teachers and our students are doing in the classroom to close a skills gap in a variety of career paths. The students in these programs are earning industry certifications and are aligning with career and post-secondary career pathways. The alignment of these programs creates more opportunities and options for all of our students at their high school graduation. In this upcoming episode, you will meet Ms. Brittany Schoen from Fort Pierce Westwood Academy, the West Prep Magnet, to hear about how St. Lucie Public Schools are getting advanced career and college readiness in the Veterinarian Assistant Academy. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you.
All right, if you don't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Brittany Schoen. I am the veterinary assistant teacher at Fort Pierce Westwood.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kamiyah Rogers, and I am a Fort Pierce Westwood Academy alumni.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ms. Schoen, what exactly is the veterinary or the vet academy?
So we are producing the veterinary assistant background to then get them certified in veterinary assisting and then get their foot in the door in any of the vet field, whether it is emergency care, day practice care, humane society care, which then that also puts the availability for like animal control, law enforcement, and it's just a basic background knowledge.
Okay. Now, what was your experience coming into teaching? Prior to teaching, did you work in industry?
So I did work from when I was an 11th grader in high school, which I went to Fort Pierce Westwood also, and went into the Vet Assisting Academy. Worked through day practice, then I followed up into emergency care, and the person prior to me who was the veterinary assistant teacher, her and I actually worked together, and she informed me of the position that was opened. So then I went ahead and tried my hardest to get in. And since then, I've had little connections here and there with the ER that I've been with.
Okay. So was it a pretty easy transition? Because you just mentioned that you are a Fort Pierce alumni yourself. So was it a pretty easy transition?
Actually, it was pretty easy for me to go from training a technician to teaching a student.
All right. And Kamiyah,
Yes.
now tell us your story. Like, what's your background? Are you a current student or a graduate? What's going on with you?
So I just recently graduated as class of 2020, the first graduating class of the Fort Pierce West Prep Academy. And basically, when I came in from 8th grade, I got a paper in the mail saying, you're eligible to go to any school you want to. These are the programs that are offered. And we went and I saw the IB, I saw the ag, and it was just something about the vet field that I knew that I loved. And from that moment on, I was like, I had to be in vet. So I did it.
All right. Well, I'm certainly glad that you did that program, and you graduated from there. Now, when you're thinking about as a student perspective, was it a pretty easy transition? Like, what are you doing right now? Are you in college working on that career path? What are you doing?
So as a student, I feel like it is a good transition to be in. It got me in the door, and I was like, okay, this is something that I'm interested in. This is something to have a backup plan on, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things. I am currently in school, but I'm going to school for the medical field side of it. So that's also through the vet program I learned about. It's more than just being a doctor or a nurse. It's the sonographers. I can be a lawyer. I can do anything that I want to. So I was like, okay.
So with you having that background as a student, why do you, because you just mentioned, having that medical piece too. So why is it important for students to be in the vet program like early on, like starting in high school, not just wait till college?
Personally, I feel like it's a benefit to start early because it opens that door for you to get in, like Michelle mentioned earlier. It's kind of that push to say, okay, this is something that I could really do and enjoy. And it offered a lot of opportunities because, like Michelle did mention, they do keep in contact with different facilities. So when we decided, hey, I want to try to get a job, try to get an internship, get my foot in. She was just there to be like, okay, well, I'll help you fill out the paperwork. I'll get in contact with people. She let us know, hey, this office has a position open if anybody wants it. So it was just lovely to have her as a teacher and be able to do everything.
Okay, so Brittany, these are job opportunities and internships. You want to explain more about that one?
Yes, so with our certification, the students are required not only for 250 hours in lecture time, but we also have to have 250 hours of volunteer time. And now our local veterinarians are offering pre-internship, which is the volunteer, that then allows them to become employees. Most of the facilities around are corporate owned. And the corporate allows the students to go from just their volunteer time to then get on their payroll, allows them for a full ride of a career all through the academy.
Okay. So then, Kamiyah, did you do any volunteer work or did you work in any offices locally?
Locally, I did try to get in and do a little bit of volunteering here and there. Right now, not as much as I want to, but knowing Miss Shawn and being able to have the opportunity, I know I can still email her or text her, even though I'm not a student, to say, hey, do you know if anybody has anything open? And she'll still help me and look for anything that I need help with.
Right. And I think that's important. I think that you're actually going above not just being in the classroom with these students, but actually following them through their career goals and actually following up with them. And they're following up with you saying, hey, I need help. You know what I mean? You're still reaching out. So that's amazing. So if we were to shadow a student in your classroom, what will we typically see? Are there different levels of the different courses? Like, what are the different courses and what our students can expect to do in each of those?
Okay, so our typical day is not any typical day in a classroom. Our students come in, we do attendance, and from there, they're actually dismissed from the area that I teach in. They are then to go to take care of a variety of animals, which we all separate into groups. We have a group of rabbits, a group of snakes, a group of ferrets, guinea pigs, what else do I have? Bearded dragons, hamsters, and all my kids in all of my classes are to separate and go into their groups, make sure everybody's got food, water, bedding changes, plus outside time, baths if necessary. And I also bring my 2 dogs in, and I have a set of students who make sure that they're fully taken care of as well. So from there, then we would begin any of the lecture. We also do labs on Fridays, and we either do them in my classroom or we'll go up to agri-science and work on the cows. As far as the curriculum goes, each of the levels go into further detail from the previous levels. So Vet 1 starts out with basic restraint handling. We work on primarily dogs and cats, and as well as, safety protocols. From there, Vet 2 will go into livestock, but it's still safety, restraint, handling, and we just go into further details. Every class level has to learn different levels of terminology as well. So then from there, we'll go into law procedures, surgical procedures, and lab procedures. We also do surgical procedures, and that's actually separated throughout each of the levels. So Vet 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that we go ahead and do like different systems where, there's different levels of prep that each of the kids are allowed to do. Once they're certified, they would be the ones who are actually assisting a veterinarian and an assistant in the surgical suite.
Okay. So you had mentioned surgical suite, all right? How do you all go about that? I mean, this is a high school program, but basically you all are doing college level, career ready skills. So how do you all function? How do you all do all that?
So when I was in school, our teacher who was a veterinarian or is a veterinarian, he would bring in the animals, primarily the ones that are from the Humane Society or, a local shelter. And we would be watching, and when we got certified, we were allowed to be the ones who did the prepping and go from there. So that's something that I'm trying to indicate now with my students, and we're in the process of that. But our surgical suite is set up where we have a prep room, and the students there, we just practice right now on a stuffed animal, and it's, how do they shave the area? How do they prep up the area? What instruments do you need to have out? And the students also have to learn how to clean it, how to prep it from getting the surgical instruments prepped inside of their casing, how to then open it up to where everything stays sterile. Because our biggest thing is you have to be safe, and you have to make sure that you, your doctor, and your animal are constantly in a safe environment.
Awesome. So what would you say, Kamiyah, is your most, I guess, when you think back on your high school experience in this program, what was your most memorable experience with the animals?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think for me, the most memorable thing would be that at the time, every Friday we had doggy daycare. So that's when we did a vast majority of our hands-on. That's where we got to practice drawing blood from the dogs, practice the proper way of handling and everything like that. So for me, it was getting into that, because I feel like sometimes we forget the little things. Like, it's important that we know how to properly bathe the dog and how we do this and that, because it's not just, this is this vaccine, you're gonna shoot the dog and it is what it is. It's, you have to be able to clean kennels, you have to be able to bathe, you have to be able to figure out dosage and everything like that. So for me, that would be my most memorable moment.
Okay. Did you ever have any experience with the surgical suite or working with any of the vets? Did you have any of that experience in the classroom?
So for me, at the time, sadly, no, the suite wasn't open. But my senior year, when Ms. Shaun came, I worked with her on helping get everything set up, trying to make sure everything was ready. Because for me, it wasn't only about me. I wanted to make sure that it was ready for future students who were coming to the program. I wanted to be able to help her leave a mark where, even though I didn't get to experience it, somebody else would, which would help them later on in the long run.
Okay. So, all right. So I know you all have a variety of animals inside your classroom and your lab space. When you think about it as a student coming in, or any student, and they have a fear, what do you all do to work through those fears?
So a little story that just happened the other day. We rescued a chameleon from a local vet who, somebody actually found him off of 95 and with a broken leg. He wasn't eating well, so we went ahead and took him in. With me having multiple students throughout the day, I figured the best thing for us was to take him and we can go ahead and help him eat. He had been doing very well, and I had him on my shoulder as I walked around to my classroom, and one of my students was like, "Oh my God, I have such a fear of lizards." Well, I sat very close to her, told her to hold my hand. I put her hand on my lap, told her it'd be okay, just look away. And as I reached up with her hand along my shoulder, I went ahead and was helping her pet the chameleon. Needless to say, it still kind of freaked her out, but it's something that I work with the students. I also have an ESE student who is terrified, absolutely terrified of snakes. I walked into the classroom yesterday with him holding the snake. And I have another student who refused to pick up a guinea pig. And this was before I was bringing my dogs in. And I looked at her and I was like, "If you cannot pick up a guinea pig, do you think that you'll be able to be okay with my dogs?" "Oh, yeah, not a problem." I was like, "Are you sure?" So when I brought the dogs in, she did not walk into the classroom. That kind of scared her. But now she walks my 100-pound pit bull outside at any given time. So it's a process, but it's one that, I like to help them get over that fear.
Okay. So one of the things that I want to make sure we point out is not only because we're talking about your lab space, we're talking about your classroom. We're talking about what your students are actually doing. So now I'd like to take a moment to guide everyone to a brief video that was created by St. Lucie Public Schools student Xandrin Ramos, highlighting the Veterinary Assistant Academy. So, all right, so Brittany and Kamiyah. All right, so some of the things that we saw, these are students actually holding these live animals. And I know you all brought in some special friends. Do you all want to go ahead and show us what you brought in?
Sure. Okay.
Oh, we could put him out.
And then what exactly, all right, so I know some people are just looking from the outside, they're like, oh, is it a rabbit? What is, chinchilla, right?
Yes.
All right, and what's the chinchilla's name?
His name is Chili.
Chili?
Oh, no, you're not. Okay, there we go.
So he was actually given to me by a student's mom, and she rescued him there, and she had given him away to somebody who just didn't take care of him. So she, with her big old heart, she had to take him back. And he needs a lot of care. He has to get a dust bath every other day, has to be on a special diet. And one of the her son, my student, he kept telling me about his chinchilla at the house. And I was like, man, that'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. And it never went anywhere from that. And I then get a phone call and she's like, hi, I'm so-and-so. He keeps telling me that you would love a chinchilla. So we ended up meeting afterwards, and we've had him ever since. And he is one of the coolest things. He feels like a little baby blanket. He's so soft.
All right, and then you brought in one more. This is the one that I know has a story behind it.
Hi, honey.
And talk about fears, everyone. Talk about fears.
So, this is also a little prized possession. Her name is Sunshine, and one of my students' parents, they breed boas. She has a medical condition that she cannot be bred. She also is partially blind. It's kind of hard to tell that she's an albino, though that she's yellow. But with albinos, they end up getting a deficiency, and it affects their eyes. So we went ahead and took her in, and typically snakes that are bred, they actually sit in a container like this. Most of the time they have just racks of different snakes. Well, I posted on Facebook that I was looking for a couple different tanks for some reptiles, and came across somebody who built a 6-foot enclosure. So we took that in, we fixed it up for her. The students have painted it, put their handprints all over it, made it theirs. And so now she's living an immaculate life now.
Wow. Well, thank you for bringing them in. So we're going to take a step back. I know you had mentioned not only with your students getting that real world experience, they're actually experiencing it firsthand in your classroom, but to have a career start, you're offering entry certification. Do you want to explain that entry certification, what the name of it is, and what students can do with it?
Yeah. So the FBMA, so Florida FBMA allows high school as well as adult college readiness, where the students are working on a program from Animal Care Technologies. They are required a 40-hour course as well as a 9-month instructional course, and then from there they have to do 250 volunteer hours. With that done, the students then can go ahead and test, and they are examined on the basic skills, whether it's dog breeds, cat breeds, handling and restraint, nutritional information, and if passing, then they are then certified as a veterinary assistant. From there, every year after that, the FBMA allows them to do continuing education hours, and then they can continue being certified.
Okay. So also with your students, I know that we mentioned before, prior to the show, that your students are involved in career and technical student organizations, and that's also connected with the AG program, correct?
Right.
All right. So what is that program?
So we work at the vet program as well as the ag program is actually bundled together through FFA.
Okay.
And then from there, we're sectioned out based on our certifications separately. But we work solely hand in hand, Ms. Blake and Baker and I do, where we will plan together, we get our students together, we'll do things. She doesn't like coming to my room because of the animals, but we go up there more than she comes down to us. Just about 2 weeks ago, we had our students taking blood from cows, learning how to maneuver the restraint techniques on the cows up there. They just did where they did oh my God, I'm like losing my thought process. They artificially inseminated a few of their cows. So my students got to test their blood to make sure that they were pregnant, and took their blood from their ears, and it was lots of fun.
Wow. So are students able to earn like scholarships or get recognized nationally with this program or this organization?
With FFA, yes. They actually have multiple scholarships that they can get through that, but they have to be members of FFA to do so. And then with us, unfortunately, we don't have it set for the college credits, but because we allow the students to have all the hands-on learning, it puts them in a better environment for when they do go to college. Like, I remember being in, biology and all the lab stuff. Well, I zoomed through it. That's what I did already. So it was, a pretty easy process.
Okay. All right. So with the certifications, did you earn any certifications while you were in high school?
Yes, I actually did complete my certified veterinary assistant certification and have that certification. So if I do want to go into any position in the field, I have a bit of an upper hand.
Okay.
Where are you going?
And then you had mentioned earlier that because you're taking college classes right now and you're focused more on the medical, but what is your end goal?
So my end goal is to be an obstetrician or a midwife. And after, of course, taking the vet course, I know that not only could I do that with people, I can do it with animals, and I can go do the delivery and the sonography, and I can go out and be a traveling sonographer, go out and check for animals, make sure everything is good, and all of that great and wonderful.
Okay, so then with your students, they're getting this experience, they're getting entry certifications. How do you keep current with the industry? Do you have like an advisory board group or a committee? What do you do to keep current?
So we started an advisory group with the local veterinarians just last year. It was something that had been done prior to my high school years. I had learned about it from Dr. Adams, who had informed me that they would get together, they would have a meeting, and we would basically plan along with the curriculum so the students could have one-on-one with learning as far as lecture, and then one-on-one with learning as far as hands-on, and it would flow with the curriculum. But it came from the vets. The vets were the one who were providing that extra stuff. So we started that last year. Due to the circumstances now, we haven't met this year, but we are still in connection. I have a few emergency care doctors who love that, we are still keeping up with the process. We have the Humane Society that we, are trying to work with, and the remaining local veterinarians. Anytime I have a phone call that I just got to ask a question, everybody's willing to help. I actually just had a student who has a horse that was showing signs of a disease where the adrenal glands do not produce the correct hormone. And I was like, well, I know what to do for a dog. I don't really remember what to do for a horse, but let me make a phone call. And it was as simple as that. I had a doctor who looked into what the testing needed to be done, and we got everything squared away for her.
Wow. So if a parent or a student is watching the show or community member and they're interested in becoming a student, or they know of someone that they would like to be placed in the vet program, what are the steps to actually get into the program?
So there is MSAP application that is on the St. Lucie School Board website that they can go ahead and fill out and get the process started. And then from there, they just go into I don't know how to explain it, but they do the application, and then because of us having the certification, it allows the students outside of the district. So it's no longer like how it was when I was in school, where it's like, this is what you got, this is what you have to deal with. So it definitely opens up a variety to any of the students locally.
Okay. So as we prepare to end, all right, I have thoroughly enjoyed having you both on the show, and even our friends here, some more than others, I'm sure. All right, so before we close, are there any last things that you would like to talk or speak about before we close? Like, why is this program vital one last time for the community?
Well, if it wasn't for the students at step one, we wouldn't have an industry to work in.
Right.
You know, if as a little kid, I knew I wanted to be a vet, but if I was not given the opportunity to do this as a high school student, then I may not have ever been able to get my foot in the door and worked, you know, for so many years before my foot in the door as a teacher.
All right. Well, again, I'd like to thank both of you for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right.